Where should you put your money? Stocks, of course, came up top as a discussion point. Remember, there are 7 more initial public offers or IPOs also lined up from the government. Government has a 40,000 crore divestment targets. You just heard about Coal India getting oversubscribed. Huge appetite for that issue when it came to foreign investors, retail investors. Well, it was just about so-so. So the big question is, are you looking to invest in IPOs, and does that make good sense or not? Hamir is with us. He has a question on that.
My question is to Mr. Damani. Like you mentioned, the Coal India IPO, with the IPOs to come from the government, would the market remain as optimistic about all the rest of the IPOs also? Because given the heavy investment that Coal India has, will the other IPOs also see the same kind of investment and from the same profile of the investors, probably foreign investors?
But do you want to know whether you should invest in an IPO which comes up?
Given the effect that foreign investors have on an IPO, and given after once it is listed on the stock exchange, with regards to that, I would like to know how is it for a retail investor then?
All right, Ramesh, IPOs and FPOs lined up from the government's table, 7 of them to hit before 31st March. Should retail investors go ahead for that? Number one, of course, that would depend on the pricing. But number two, I think what Hamir is worried about, will it suck out so much liquidity from the markets that it would actually affect your overall secondary market as well?
Thanks, Manisha. I think first, Coal India is going to turn out to be a historical IPO in terms of the sheer amount of oversubscription that it's already had. And on the time of listing, I think you're going to see some of the highest volumes ever traded on individual scripts. Is going to break all kinds of records. I think it's one of the most eagerly anticipated listings that I can remember the last 10 years or so. So that much for Coal India. It's a very attractive company, attractively priced. What happens to the rest of the IPO bag? I don't know. Generally, I'll give you Peter Lynch's maxim that when the Queen sells the silver, the public should be buying it. There's been a lot of money made in public sector stocks over the last decade or so. Go back and see the BHALs, the Bharat Electronics, the BEMLs of the world. They've been up almost 30 to 50x over periods of time. So there's a lot of money out there, and I think retail investors should look at it, but more on a case-by-case basis. I can't make a blanket statement and say by everything there have been some IPOs that haven't done well. But as a general thumb rule, I would take a good hard look at any government IPO.
All right, so keep a close eye on IPOs if you have money to invest, and there are about 7 more lined up before 31st March. Ruchi, you have a question.
So I would like to know whether these old ULIP aren't being now out of the market. So as per the planner, the new ULIPs are good. So is it really good to invest in these new ULIPs?
Ruchi, 2 points here. One is that if you have an old ULIP, don't listen to anybody who tells you to stop funding them, because people will try and stop you funding and then buy a new one. If you've got an old ULIP, carry on with it. You've paid all the costs already upfront. A lot of the problems of the new ULIPs have gone away in terms of the high costs, in terms of the way the product was very badly structured earlier. The problems have all gone away. So the decision or not to invest in the new ULIP should depend on what you want to do as an investor. A ULIP is a bundled product where you're mixing together insurance as well as investment. So if that ease of bundling is something that you like, you can go ahead and do that. But if you want to separate it out, then buying a term insurance and then putting the rest of the money in a mutual fund still remains. I mean, I always prefer to unbundle my investment decisions. But if you think that it's easier for you to, through one check, take care of both your needs, then possibly it could work. But remember, you do need a fairly high amount of insurance component in that ULIP product.
Harsh, why is it that ULIPs still continue to be such a favorite? I mean, enough has been written about it. In their new avatar, maybe they're a better product. Are they pushed a lot in the market? Is that the reason?
Yeah, I mean, in the old ULIP, the commission structures that the agent had were fairly high. So obviously they pushed that product. And fortunately, because the markets were doing well, the customers also got good returns. But clearly, the structure of the product was meant for long term. It was not really meant for short term. As Monica said, I think clearly the structure has now improved. But as a regular planner, what would I do, or what would I advise my clients to do? Typically, break up your requirements. I mean, ULIP, as I like to say, is a lazy man's investment. right?
And-
Or a lazy woman's investment.
Absolutely, and we do not want any of the Let's Talk Money audience to be lazy at all. That's not the way to stay ahead of the curve.
But Manisha, really, inertia, you can make inertia work for you, right? So if you cannot make it work for you, maybe then ULIPs are no longer a bad product. Please go ahead. Rather than not invest, ULIP is a good investment. But if you can break up, the big issue with ULIP is that you may remain underinsured. Remember, your insurance keeps coming down as your fund value goes up. Okay, if you can keep them separate, and the other investment that you do, whether it's a mutual fund, whether it is a PPF, etc., make inertia work for you just like it works in a ULIP. Give a standing instruction, give an ECS, so that it happens on its own. It hits your account, the debit goes out, and it works just like a ULIP would. Then the inertia is working for you. You can look at it long term. I think.
What about ULIP as a tax-saving investment versus a tax-saving mutual fund? Monica.
I think the DTC will change a lot of things as of today. If you take care of your provident fund, your PPF, the NSC, the home loan principal, you would have soak up that 1 lakh very easily. So the decision by the time you come to ULIP versus mutual fund is pretty much over. So and also if you still have some money left, then that term insurance also will get you the same tax kick. So I'm holding back in saying that a ULIP versus an ELSS, we'll just have to wait for the DTC to kick in. But that 1 lakh gets soaked in very nicely through all of your other things that you do have in that basket.
Much more efficient basket as such. So we've discussed gold, we've also looked at stocks, real estate. That's the next big thing that all of you do consider as an investment option.